So when you want to plant your fig trees, there are so many ways that you can do it, and each one will yield a little bit different result. So this particular tree right here, I planted at an angle, and then I laid that tree over and buried it the first winter, and I never uncovered it after that. So what that made that tree do is each limb that was out there would send up its own tree. So it turned that tree into about 5 trees. And it's been many years ago, so each one of those trees has made its own crown, and so that's why this tree has such a large footprint, and it's all the same variety. The tree next to it is also done the same way. So if you have just a few trees, or you're gonna love that variety and you want a lot of fruit from it, this is one way that you can get that done.
What's this variety?
So this variety is Carvalho. So if you'll come in here, I'll show you. This tree was literally planted. The trunk is planted right here. I don't know if we'll be able to see, maybe. So this tree was planted right here. You can see the branch this was one of the branches. So over the years, this is the tree, the main trunk at the pot. So when I just laid it over this way, it had branches and branches this way. So this branch sent up this cluster. The branch that I laid down sent up some halfway through it even. Sent up this cluster. Right here's another cluster right here. And then another one right here. And might even be another one. But anyway, you get the point. So it just basically spread the tree out to a much larger footprint. And so I treat each one of these trees like it's its own tree. So if you watch the last video, I talk about how I try to save 3 or so of the smaller branches, and I'll lay them over. I'll literally do 3 for each one of these nodes. So this particular tree will probably have 15 branches that I'll lay over and cover with the cardboard right now. And I'll just show you. So we've already cut down all the large ones. You can see the larger ones, that's what's gone. And we've left all the smaller ones that are going to bend over. Okay, so it's real important to know that when you're protecting this in this manner with the cardboard, that moisture is your enemy. I wait until mid-December normally. It can take the mid-20s and maybe a little bit of low 20s. It's not going to hurt your tree. But before the winter comes in with the harsh weather, it needs to be covered and protected.
So we're doing this a little bit early now just for the sake of being able to make the video.
Just to be able to make a good video. We've got bad weather coming in. It's going to be rainy next week and a little colder. So we cut the tree down early, and I'll do the rest of them at another time. So we've cut them down. So some of these are going to die. Sometimes if they get a little too much moisture, when you start to dig them up, you'll see that they've gotten too much moisture and the bark's coming off and it kills it. And some of them make it. It's not that big of a deal, if some of them die. If you have a whole lot of moisture, or you're going to leave it buried for a very long time, maybe you're further north than 7A, which is where I am, then I would suggest to go out periodically through the winter, every 2-3 weeks or something, and just kind of make sure that your trees aren't getting too much moisture. And if they are, you can cover it with plastic. I don't cover with plastic. I'm just going to put the cardboard over and wood chips, and then I'll just leave it like that. And because I'm going to uncover it in the last part of February and just let it take the weather all the way into spring. But some of these are going to live, maybe all of them. It's up in the air according if you have a mild winter or not. And so then some of them will die and some of them will live. Next year when it comes time, I'll uncover it, then I'll get stakes and I'll stake the ones that I want up. And then I can go ahead and prune out the ones that I don't at that point. So anything that you keep that we don't use next winter, like say I was not going to keep this one, which I probably will keep because it's the biggest one. But for demonstration, I'll cut this off in February, late February, early March, and cut the cuttings. And I'll stick those cuttings all the way around this tree in this soft, broken down deep mulch like we talked about. And sometimes they'll root and they'll take off, and sometimes they don't. So if they don't, they just become part of the covering and break down. If they do, and I want to trade that tree or give it away or whatever, I'll dig it up and I'll label it at that point. See, I know what the mother tree is, so I don't worry about labeling each cutting that comes off. I'll stick all of those around. The ones that live at the point of removal will get labeled at that point. So it just makes it very easy. So I'll show you the cardboard. And it's really just straightforward. We're just going to cover these up and bury them.
So a question, if we were gonna have a couple of weeks of forecast good weather in maybe January, would you do anything about the moisture? Would you maybe open it up, or do you just leave it?
I would check it and evaluate it.
Okay.
I figured out that if I do this process like mid-December and then I uncover it in late February, that it pretty much doesn't have time to have much damage.
Okay.
But there has been time when I've had bad weather that I had to bury in November and then maybe not be able to uncover until March. If that's the case, then I'll start watching periodically. When you have nice weather, come out and just look. Most of the time you have a few fig trees. It's not that big of a deal to come out and check. After the worst part of the winter, it's not so important that you get it sealed up so much, you just want it to breathe a little bit too. But so you basically this is cardboard from Dollar General. I just went there yesterday and picked up they have all the stuff you want for free out there. All different kinds, all different shapes of boxes. I primarily try to go for brown boxes, but if you get a few white ones, it's not so bad. You don't want lifelike pictures. The inks that they use in the lifelike pictures have toxins in them. All of this is soy-based ink that are just colors, so it's not so bad. But I try to just get brown, and you can get brown. So the tape, you don't have to remove the tape anymore. It's biodegradable now. So like the older days, the tape wasn't. You'd have to take the tape off. But literally just lay it down, shingle it. No rhyme or reason. So get a bigger box, maybe a couple.
So what does the cardboard do versus just covering with a bunch of wood chips?
Wood chips and nothing. It just gives a nice layer of protection.
And it flattens them down, kinda?
It helps it hold it down.
Okay.
But I'm glad you said that, because I forgot what I was wanting to really say is this whole area never gets mowed, never gets tilled, it's never been fertilized. And so what we're doing here is actually it accomplishes two tasks. So I'll cover this up and make this tree survive in the winter. If you remember from the other video, I said now in the late February, early March, I'll pull this cardboard off to the side, or once I know the frosts are not going to come in, pull the cardboards just to the side, and I'll surround this tree with this cardboard and these wood chips that I'm going to have there. And so I'll go all the way around. That stops all grass from coming in all that whole year, anywhere around that tree. I have rows here, so as I do this row and that row and the next row, it'll really just kind of mesh together, and so it takes out all your mowing for the whole year.
That's awesome.
So that's an awesome thing. This is a little bit of work, but when you think about what all you're accomplishing, besides feeding it and doing all of the natural, fertilizing that you need to do, it also keeps you from having to mow too much,
And me having recently moved and now having to start over with a new garden, the weeds are killing me, man.
Yeah, the weeds choke. So, and the worst weeds are the ones that come up inside your crown, right there next to your tree, and choke. So this will stop all of that, and sometimes I get weeds out in the rows, but I'll come through with more wood chips or old straw or hay or just whatever I can get that's an organic thing that's never been sprayed with any kind of chemicals. You can just layer it and keep layering it. I'll bring leaves from my yard because I have a lot of oak trees and I get a lot of leaves, so I use that. You want anything that you put down, you want to source from as near you as possible, as close, as local as possible. So anything that you can see that's close to you that's an organic material, layer that sucker down. You can get it for free, and it's just a continuous process to just keep bringing in material. And if you can't tell, but it's like walking on air.
Yeah.
It's just soft like walking here, and you watched it dig. So that's basically why. So you just keep on putting the there's a few more hanging out there. And if any of these are too big and they don't want to lay down, you can put a block or a piece of wood or something on it. So, and that's another reason why I'm real generous with the cardboard, because it's free, and plus it's going to block the grass next year, so I don't mind having cardboard. So the cardboard, the glue in that cardboard is very high protein, and it's highly attractive to the worms. They're drawn to the glue in the cardboard. Like I said, I've got 5 crowns here, so it's actually like I'm doing 5 trees instead of 1.
You must like this variety.
I do love this variety. It's good. It's very good. This is considered a Mount Etna fig, Carvalho, but it's one that has its own flavor. So much so that I almost don't consider it a Mount Etna. I don't argue that much because it's just not worth arguing about. But if you put, and I grow probably 15 or more varieties of Mount Etnas, you can put them all on a plate and you can pick this one out. A child could pick this one out with no problem. So that makes me personally think maybe it's not a Mount Etna, even though the leaves match, the figs match, the color of them all match. But maybe it's not because the flavor doesn't.
I agree. You told me about this one first, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. And so you told me to grow this one, and I had written it off because I assumed it was just a Mount Etna.
Yeah,
and,
most people do.
Yeah.
And
so it's not one you hear much about, but it is definitely one that has performed very well for me.
This particular tree came from Trees of Joy at Bass. It's one of Bass's trees. And I'm pretty sure he likes it a lot too. If you grow it, you'll love it. Because it definitely produces very well. And we've been eating a few of these before we cut it, and they're still delicious even now at the end of November.
Almost December. It was 31 degrees this morning, and they were delicious.
So those I'm going to have to take care of as I dump. But as you can tell, I've just, and there's some sticking out here and there. All right. I'll just take these. And, so I'll show you one. A lot of times I'll just take them and dump them on, especially if I'm doing one tree. But if I'm not, I can use. You see it laying it on down there? And so I see stuff like this, and after I've got some of them, some wood chips that are holding out, you just come under there like that. Well, it doesn't matter so much.
Just tuck them in when you're...
Yeah, you're just tucking them in for the winter. That's really all you're doing. You're keeping the ground warm. So you want to seal around the edge. So now that cardboard's in good contact with the ground.
I asked Bill to show me how to do this, and then, because I don't know, you guys know I grew up, or didn't grow up, but I've been growing figs in California for the longest time, and I've struggled through the winters and didn't really know how to protect them. So he told me about this last year, but I had so much going on, it didn't make sense. So I'm like, can you just show me how to do it? Because if I actually see it, then maybe I'll remember. So he's like, well, just come up and make a video of it. Then everyone can see. And so that's why we're here.
It's a really good technique. And like I say, it's free materials.
Well, it clearly works. I mean, look around, guys. These are 12 plus feet tall. Yeah, I'm surrounded by enormous trees. Like,
it's almost Thanksgiving.
Huge.
They're still rolling. They're still pumping out.
We probably had 20 varieties of figs today already. They're
still excellent.
Yeah.
So if you'll come on in here, and you'll notice that there's a large gap of air here. So that's why I chopped these larger ones off up higher, because that kind of gives you a little support.
And allows for some air.
A little bit of air under there.
Okay.
So also very important is that you want to do this process after you've had a couple frosts. By the first frost, all your rodents have their dens packed full of their nuts and stuff that they've gathered. They're not looking to make new dens. If you do this before frost or too early, then this will attract the rodents and stuff that you don't want. It's very important to do it after a couple of frosts. And like I said, your wood can handle mid-20s easily, low 20s most likely. So you just, so you just wait for that point, and then you won't have any problems with rodents.
Great, that's good. I wouldn't have thought about that.
I learned that the hard way.
Yeah, you've just made this cozy, warm home for them. So.
Yeah, they're happy to move in. Yeah, and they do. This is a little bit bigger one than I normally will keep, but I want to try to keep the biggest I can that'll still lay down. Cardboard. And you can walk on them.
So if you wanted to keep some slightly thicker ones, you could probably just use landscape staples and maybe hold them down and then put the cardboard on. But
I use concrete blocks sometimes, or just whatever I can. Wood over there, that'll settle it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Also, if you can let your cardboard sit outside and get rained on a little bit, or even squirt it with a water hose, just a little moisture on there will make it a lot easier to handle. It won't slide around so much like it's doing on this. So this is basically, and I'm up on top of my trees now.
Yeah.
All right. Y'all will pardon me for a second. I'll get some more wood chips. All right, so we're coming in here with another load. So you get with your tree trimming companies and you'll be able to get all the wood chips you want. You just got to stay on them at first, but then once they start coming, tell them thank you, give them some water because they're hardworking fellas, and just be thankful they'll keep bringing you. Once they learn where you're at and that they won't get stuck, they'll bring you all the chips you want.
He told me about this, so I called my guys and I just had 3 huge truckloads of chips just delivered right out there where I'm working. So I'm so excited. Got to start spreading them out.
Yeah. So this is actually a little heavier protection than I need for Zone 7A. But like we're going to pull this off next spring, so these extra chips are going to be my mulch, and it's going to stop the grass. So that's why you can't put too much. You can't put too much as long as you make sure the moisture is not building up over time on you. And if you're hot days, cold days, that's going to make your moisture happen faster. But you know your own environment where you're trying to work, so just be aware of that. And that's pretty much it.
Nice.
I'm going to leave that open. That next tree will join into this tree. So I mean, I put basically 5 trees. It took a wheelbarrow, quite a few boxes, but this one tree was basically 5 the way it's been grown.
And we can all only hope that our one tree turns into 5 and gets that big and we have to put that much work on it.
It will over
right
time.
now, my little trees, just because they're new, like this is going to be the easiest process in the world, but the hope is that I can build them up and the roots and everything can stay strong enough that it will grow back like this.
Well, we're going to go and do some more. I've got some smaller trees and medium trees, and then I have another tree that I've been laying the entire tree over. And it's so big now, I don't know that it's going to be a challenge, but we're going to try it here in just a little while.
Perfect.
And we'll get that too. So we'll have small trees, medium trees, and then the larger trees, and you can apply to what you need.
Thank you. And this is the finished product. Look at that. You can see it's about in the center where he left some of the larger sticks just to keep air off. It's about 12, 18 inches high. There you go.